SpongeBob has always dipped into spooky territory, but sometimes it crosses the line. Not just scary, but something uncanny. One minute, it's SpongeBob and Patrick catching jellyfish, and suddenly the entire town is replaced with clones. Blank-eyed, emotionless, and repeating the same phrase.
Hold the mayonnaise.
Hold the mayonnaise!
That's what Planet of the Jellyfish feels like. But here's the weird part. The episode ends on a question mark. A line that suggests maybe this isn't the real end. So I went back, rewatched the entire thing frame by frame, trying to make sense of every single detail in this episode. And what I found changes the way this episode, and maybe the show, is supposed to be understood. Because I think Planet of the Jellyfish isn't just a scary episode, it might be the biggest threat SpongeBob's world has ever faced. All because jellyfishing. The episode opens up with a mundane afternoon at the jellyfish fields. SpongeBob's chasing jellyfish and Patrick's failing to catch any. Nothing out of the ordinary, until the camera lingers. In the background, there's an evil-looking cave, and something's watching. We don't get a name, just a shape and eerie alien sound.
Is it me, or does Jellyfish Field seem different today?
A huge, green, slimy alien with hollow black eyes. It catches one of the regular jellyfish and eats it. Turns out, it doesn't just eat it, it transforms it. Spits it back out as something else. A copy of jellyfish that looks the same, except it has black eyes, blank expression, and it's silent. Then it starts cloning more. So much that it's enough to attack all of Bikini Bottom. Meanwhile, Patrick falls asleep on a rock, and that's when it happens. One of the clones engulfs him, wraps around his body, and from that creates a clone of Patrick. Same voice, same face, but another with blank black eyes. This is Jelly-and Patrick. And this is where the episode shifts its tone into terror. The real Patrick is taken away. Jelly-and Patrick picks up a net and acts like nothing's happened. SpongeBob doesn't notice. He even compliments Patrick for catching jellyfish. But Jelly-and Patrick has an idea. Let's give one jellyfish to all our friends. This is the invasion plan. One person at a time, replaced while they're sleeping. That night, they drop off a jellyfish at Squidward's house. We see it happen again. Jelly goes in, clones come out. The real Squidward is gone, and in his place, something cold, green, and hollow.
There will be plenty of biting this night. Rah!
But SpongeBob doesn't see it yet. He goes to bed, unaware there's now a Jellian right beside him. And here's a moment worth paying attention to. Jellian tries to capture him in his sleep, but SpongeBob's insomnia saves him. He goes downstairs and distracts the clone by accident, tossing popcorn in its mouth, which chokes it. This moment might seem funny, but it tells us something crucial. The Jellians are biological. They can choke. They're not invincible superpower beings. SpongeBob cages the next creature the next morning like it's a weird pet, not realizing it already replaced his neighbors. He heads off to work, and behind him, the Jellian escapes and engulfs Gary. But what it spits out isn't just a copy of Gary, it's Gary fused with the houseplant next to him. It's subtle, but this is where the rules change. The clones are also capable of copying household items, not just individuals. Cut to the Krusty Krab. It's packed, there's a line of customers, but every customer says the same thing. One Krabby Patty, hold the mayonnaise. Except one guy. One normal-looking fish orders a patty with extra mayo, and suddenly, everyone turns on it. They hiss, pointing at him, and in that moment we realize what the clones are really doing. They're staying away from mayonnaise. For whatever reason we don't know yet. Mr. Krabs, or what we think is him, said that they're running out of mayonnaise, then offers the guy a free jellyfish hat as a compliment. It latches onto his head, and he becomes one of them. Another replacement, all in plain sight. And SpongeBob? He's just now starting to feel that something is off. He was sure they just got a shipment of mayo. He goes to the freezer looking for mayo and finds it fully stocked, which means Mr. Krabs lied, which means Mr. Krabs isn't Mr. Krabs. But then SpongeBob sees something else, through a peephole hidden behind the mayo crates. It's everyone, his co-workers, some random guy, and his spatula, all cocooned in green slime. The same jellyfish overlord from the cave is also standing there, commanding an army. That's the moment it clicks. This isn't just a few clones, this is an invasion, and most of the town has already been taken. He runs, panics, tries to act normal, but everywhere he turns, another clone is waiting. smiling, offering a Jellian, telling him to get some sleep. SpongeBob is running out seeking anyone that hasn't turned into a clone, and just before he's caught, Sandy grabs him and pulls him into her tree dome. At first, she thinks he's a clone too, but she tickles him and SpongeBob's laugh gives him away.
You're SpongeBob, all right.
They piece it together. Mayonnaise is the key. So they disguise themselves with fake jelly and eyes and accents to blend in with the clones.
I hate mayonnaise.
I hate mayonnaise and mustard.
They both manage to sneak back into the Krusty Krab, but the disguise slips, and now the clones know. In a moment of panic, SpongeBob grabs a mayo sprayer from the condiment island and fights them off. The moment the jelly and crabs got sprayed by mayonnaise, he instantly dissolved and popped the cocoon in the freezer. The real Krabs is freed. So SpongeBob continues to fight by shooting every single one of them. One by one, the Bikini Bottomites are freed. But there's still one left, the Overlord, hiding in the freezer. SpongeBob tries to shoot it, but the mayonnaise is starting to harden. He tries to launch a frozen mayo block, but nothing happens. But Sandy quickly turns up the heat, the mayo melts, and finally, it destroys him. The Overlord turns into goo and floods the freezer. It's over. The town is saved, or so it seems. Because in the final scene, Mr. Krabs is selling the leftover green goo as relish patties, and Patrick orders one. SpongeBob and Squidward shoot him a look. The screen fades to black, and the final title card appears. So that was Planet of the Jellyfish. And yeah, on the surface, it's one of the weirder SpongeBob plots. Alien jellyfish clones, mayonnaise warfare, a secret hive under the Krusty Krab. But the more you watch it, the more it stops feeling random and starts feeling deliberate, like something's hidden underneath the relish. Because there are patterns here, and rules, and a trail that goes deeper than just one episode. Why do the jellyfish clone people? Why do they hate mayonnaise? And why is Patrick still acting strange after it's all over? I rewatched everything, cross-referenced every jellyfish appearance, checked every episode that might have picked up the thread, and what I found changes how you see the entire show. To make sense of all this, I've broken the mystery down into 3 key theories, and as we go through them one by one, the real story behind Planet of the Jellyfish starts to come into focus. So let's go back to the end. SpongeBob defeats the aliens, the Overlord melts, Bikini Bottom is safe again, except it's not. Because if you look closer, the episode doesn't wrap up with a celebration. There's no cleanup, no recovery, no therapy session for the town that was just secretly replaced by clones. Instead, Mr. Krabs bottles up the leftover alien goo and sells it for food, for $4 extra. They name it Freaky Clone Jelly Relish, the same goo that was literally cloning people hours earlier, now it's just another condiment. And here's where it gets weird. No one questions it. Not SpongeBob, not the townspeople who just got their bodies back, not even Sandy, the all-knowing scientist of Bikini Bottom. Everyone just moves on, like it didn't happen. But maybe they didn't forget. Maybe they accepted it. And that's the first real clue. Because think about the logic. If you were an alien species trying to conquer a new planet, would you use brute force? Or would you use taste? You let the people take it willingly. You let yourself be consumed. Was it their plan all along? The invasion could just be a show, something dramatic and scary to hide the real terror, something that ends with goo on the floor, right where Mr. Krabs could scoop it up and get it into the food chain. And maybe someone helped make that happen. Mr. Krabs saw a product, but what about Sandy? The one who figures out their weakness and then never brings it up again. Not once. What if she knew it wasn't over? And maybe that's the point. The aliens didn't lose, they just changed form. And the moment that relish hit the grill, the real invasion began. So if the invasion was never meant to be won, if the goal was to be consumed, normalized, loved, then the question is, did it work? Let's track what happens after the episode. At the very end of the episode, there's one line that sticks. Patrick, the first person to get cloned, walks up to the counter and says,
I'll have 1 relish patty. Hold them in.
It's weird and funny on paper, until you remember something from an older episode, Hocus Pocus, Season 4. Patrick literally begs SpongeBob to turn him into a jar of mayonnaise so he can eat himself.
I'm still hungry. Will you turn me into a jar of mayonnaise so I can eat myself?
Mayonnaise is one of his favorite things, so why suddenly avoid it? Even SpongeBob and Squidward stare at him like something's off. Like they're not sure he's the real Patrick anymore. But it doesn't stop there. In later episodes, other characters start showing the same aversion. Sandy says she hates mayonnaise. Gary, even Patchy, reacts like it's gross or dangerous. And this isn't just a gag, it becomes a pattern. You could call it a gag, or you could see it as what it really is. Their body rejected it, triggered by something inside them, because at the same time, jellyfish culture explodes. We go from niche jellyfish fandoms in early seasons to full-blown conventions. Everyone was wearing jellyfish hats, talking about how cool jellyfish is, cosplaying it. The energy's different, it feels like a cult. And maybe it's all just a coincidence. A weird mix of callbacks and visual gags. Or maybe the goo did what it was designed to do. The goo entered the food, changed their behavior, made them reject mayo, the only thing that could destroy it. And the terrifying part? No one notices or cares, because the invasion worked. And if all that sounds like a stretch, then we need to talk about one last detail. The one thing that actually hurts these aliens. Let's move on. The Jellians aren't cartoon villains. They're intelligent creatures. They study the town, take over its leaders, run the Krusty Krab with terrifying efficiency. But there's one thing they can't touch. Mayonnaise. We see it multiple times. The moment a clone touches it, they melt. But here's the real question. Why mayo? Because mayonnaise isn't just oil and egg, it also contains vinegar. And vinegar is one of the only substances that breaks down jellyfish venom without causing more stings. It's a real-world remedy for jellyfish injuries. So, if these aliens evolved from jellyfish, or still share the same base biology, then vinegar is a natural enemy. Not just irritating, it's a lethal instrument. Wait, does Patrick know all along?
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
It is an instrument of defense, after all. Is it?
Horseradish is not an instrument either.
Does horseradish work for the aliens too? Jokes aside, combining that with what we've seen, maybe it's not a coincidence after all. Because that's how viruses survive. They don't just attack the outside, they change behavior from inside. They hijack instincts, rewire cravings, make you allergic to the one thing that could wipe them out again. So what looks like just a town moving on might actually be an entire population that's already infected, controlled quietly, from the inside out. And once you understand that, the ending of the episode doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like the first successful test run, because there's still more to all of this. Which brings us to the final, creepiest piece of the puzzle. Bikini Bottom thinks they've won. They spray the invaders, melt the clones, destroy the Overlord. But what if that's what the Jellians wanted? What if the whole invasion, the horror, the chaos, the defeat, was part of a larger plan? Think about it. They shed their old form and evolved into something new, a product. Now they're inside everyone, studying, sinking, avoiding vinegar, building resistance. Because the people of Bikini Bottom don't fight back. They paid $4 extra to help it spread. And here's the scary part. Maybe this was phase 1, a failed version on purpose. Because if this goo can influence instincts, hijack preferences, rewrite biology, then what happens when it comes back? Stronger, smarter Jellians, immune to mayonnaise. Next time, there won't be a weapon. There won't be a resistance. Because by then, Bikini Bottom won't see them as invaders. They'll see them as normal. That was their plan. And what scares me most is the thought that someone might have known. Maybe Mr. Krabs sold the goods because it made money. That's no surprise. He sells SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents. I bet he would sell the whole of Bikini Bottom for a few bucks. But Sandy? She helped stop the invasion. She knew the risk, and yet she says nothing, ever again. Why? Does she have a plan? Or that she thought Bikini Bottom already lost? So yeah, maybe Planet of the Jellyfish didn't end with a victory. Maybe it ended with the start of something far more terrifying. They reprogrammed the town, rewired how it thinks, eats, behaves, and they did it without brute force. Just a little relish and a little marketing. That's what makes this so terrifying. Because if Bikini Bottom can be rewritten that easily, what else in this world isn't real anymore? What other stories do we think we understand that have already been hijacked? Because there's one character who's been quietly breaking down for years. Someone who's been resisting change. Bitter, disconnected, trying to hold on to something real. And when you trace it all the way back, you realize it's not random. We mapped every known relative, and what we found explains everything. So if this theory rattled your brain, wait till you see this one, Squidward's complete family tree. Trust me, you'll never look at him the same again. See you there.